is a masterful sandpaper mechanic, which is what we learned. When I saw the things that he wanted to do the engine, I was pretty fucking terrified, honestly. I'm still a little bit afraid of what he did, but he assured us that this would get us back on the road. We weren't sure while he was working on her bike if he was a genius or absolutely making it worse than it was before.
El americano no se va a poner a hacer esto. El nuevo se acabó el problema. Pero que me dicen que yo estoy loco, o que eso no se puede hacer. No, eso no se puede hacer. Eso no, o sea, para ellos no es viable.
But we didn't have any better ideas, so we just stood by and watched. Yeah, the only other option was buy a new top end, which is not really an option. We found out that you can buy a police bike, like a used police bike. They have DR200s for about $700. And we were starting to consider this as an option, but we're hopeful that we wouldn't need to. Yeah, we had to wait for parts multiple times. ¿Es posible para conseguir este parte?
Tal vez en Cali. Toca conseguirlo en Cali.
The oil check valve never showed up. The people said they ordered it and then didn't, and then said they could order it. We'd have to wait 45 days, which we didn't want to do. So Burrow's like, never mind, I don't need that, I'll just fix it with super glue. And he super glued an O-ring onto the end of the remaining check valve and assured us that would work just fine. Yeah, he just sawed off the part that broke and fixed the O-ring, and it was great. There was also a lot of scraping with razor blades and knives and sandpaper. Yeah. There's a lot of questionable actions, but my bike's running, and you know, that's all I can really ask for. Yeah, he said you can do these kinds of rebuilds with sandpaper 3 times before you have to just do a whole new top end. So you can extend the life of your motor with only the cost of a piece of sandpaper. After all the sanding, the head, the cylinder, the shims, the cam journals, the cam caps, and the valves, all the good stuff, we reinstalled the ghetto rigged check valve and also replaced the valve oil seals, which were completely destroyed. Siempre usas pegamento para los sellos?
Yo le he hecho eso por si las moscas no se van a salir.
And we reassembled the motor. We looked at the gaskets and thought they might still be good. We were hoping we weren't gonna have to buy more parts, and they weren't good. Well, first we wanted to make sure that our new check valve was sending oil up to the top of the motor. And it was. Once the bike started warming up, we saw oil shooting out of the top of the motor. But once the bike warmed up to operating temperature, a pile of coolant came out. We spent a lot of time waiting around the mechanics and digging through spare parts, and so we just started making dream catchers out of recycled parts of motorcycles. Yeah, old clutch plates and a lot of copper wire from old stators and whatever we could find. Yeah, it took like another week and a half or something to get all the gaskets. We got to take the bike apart and reassemble it and fire it up again. This time, only a tiny bit of coolant, almost nothing, came out. Casi nada, as Bodo would say. So we let the bike cool down, and then Bodo took a tiny little bit of super glue on the end of a knife and ran it along the gasket line and let that dry, and we fired the bike up again, and no more leaks. We fixed it! Yeah. Sandpaper and super glue. Yeah. We took my bike for a test ride and stopped every so often to check all of the gaskets and make sure nothing was leaking, which none of it was, so super glue, awesome. I actually asked the guy on the side of the road if it was pretty standard for mechanics to super glue the outside of the motor here and there to prevent leaks or stop them, and he said yeah, so we went with that. So finally we had Andrea's bike sandpapered and super glued back to a running state. And we were very excited after all of the waiting to get on the bikes and ride toward the border, because now getting to Ecuador was symbolic of victory.